Don't tell me what type of leader I am. Tell me why this person is like this. These are the reasons why you're a micromanager. This is the kind of stain you have. This is the kind of dust you carrying around. So this is what we need to address in order for you to get it right, or let somebody else in to do it. So the dusty leaders, the dirty, okay?
You make it sound like they Pigpen from Charlie Brown.
Just everywhere they go, just a trail of dust.
That dust cloud.
Just dust cloud. Like, just put your whole body in the washing machine. Like, what is happening here?
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready?
Nope.
For a long journey where our podcast released a new app and searching for a fade fiend, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel support this season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, have some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talking with Donato.
Welcome in, everyone. On today's episode of Talking with Donato, I'm joined by Dr. Freadda Matthews, a powerhouse in leadership development and a fierce advocate for psychologically healthy workplaces. With over 20 years of experience in workforce management and social services, she's helped leaders transform their approach through emotional intelligence, respect, and compassion. We'll be diving into her powerful new book, Unkept Leadership, exploring the hidden traits leaders often neglect and how we can all become more intentional, empowered, and impactful, no matter our title.
Come on.
Dr. Matthews, thank you for joining.
Let's talk about it.
So I want to jump in. You and I talked off air. That energy was fire, by the way. I know this is going to be fun. I hate to tell everybody already because they like, well, get to it. We want to know. What originally inspired your passion for creating psychologically healthy workplaces?
Okay, I know. It's like, okay, first of all, let me just say, everybody has a book out there, right? You're like, another book with the same old things. And I'm like, I'm throwing my hat in the basket too. Because this, for me, it was life experiences, real life experiences, my friends' experiences, my colleagues' experiences, and just going through those moments where you go, does management know about this? And when you say, does management know about this? And you feel like, and you realize it is management doing it. And I was like, is this rated G or R? I'm just like, I'm like, this shit here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to do it. So this has actually been on a bucket list of mine. When I was getting my dissertation, I actually studied toxicity in the workplace, the risk factors and what leads up to that, what can lead up to a psychologically healthy workplace. And so my favorite, and I don't want to make this boring for everybody, but this is a psychology mixed with leadership.
Yes.
I am doctor. Okay.
That's what it is.
So what I'm saying,
right
okay. So what I'm just saying is my favorite psychologist was Albert Bandura. So Albert Bandura did this Bobo doll experiment. What's a Bobo doll? So if you picture this big doll, blow up doll, and what he did was he experimented with children. He put adults in the room, their parents, and watched how they treated this Bobo doll. And so what he did was he had all of the parents kind of like boxing and being mean to the doll, kicking it, screaming at it, throwing it across the room. And so he had them leave. And when the children came back in, what do you think they did? The same thing, right? So it's called social cognitive theory, and it is behavioral theory. So what I see, we've all heard the thing monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
Which is, by the way, it's an old Jamaican term for all those of you that don't know it. But all of my Jamaican friends, shout out to you. It is an old Jamaican term that means you're doing something, but you don't realize what the consequences are. So that's where the term actually came from. Albert Bandura actually did research on it and studies and said, what people see is what they do. So in these workplaces that I've been in, and the places where you go, does management know about this shit? And you go, yeah, they actually do. And they come out and they go, I am leadership. And you go, okay. So everybody that's under their directives are the ones that's performing those same behaviors, and they think it's okay. So from that, I said, you know what? there's some real dirty leadership out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead of saying dirty, I've decided to call it unkept, right? Because everybody knows what unkept is. It's really unkempt with an M in there, but I'm like, I don't like how that sounds. We're going to use unkept, right? And so basically it is going through, everybody knows how to clean clothes. So I'm comparing unkept behavior and neglected characteristics to like dirty laundry. And it's in 4 categories, right? You have unkept, smudge, dingy, and unkept. Well kept, I'm sorry, it's unkept, smudge, dingy, and then unkept. So in that, you pull out those characteristics of how does things get soiled. Like, for example, now stop me, Donato, because I this is my thing. Like, I love talking about dirty leadership. Okay.
No, let her cook. We all want this.
So you know how when you have a smudge on your shirt, and if you're far enough back in the mirror, you're like, I don't see anything. But the closer you get, the more you realize there's a smudge or a piece of dirt. So if you're not doing some self-reflection and looking closely at yourself at these neglectful characters, you're not going to see it. And you're going to keep passing it from employee to employee, especially with succession planning or people that you want to bring into your role. So it's just like I have a dirty coat on. I've been wearing it. I'm out in the rain. I go through some dirt and dust. I go through some mud. I'm sloshing through. I take it off when I get back to the house, and then I hand it to my daughter and go, here you go. You can wear my coat, and I want you to act like I act. What you gonna think she's gonna do with that dirt? She's just taking those same stains and dirt wherever she's going because we passing it around. So in my book, what I'm talking about is different neglected characteristics, but you got to read the book for that. But it's a bunch of different characteristics that lead up to each of those categories. And basically, the bottom line is you have to do some self-reflection. Pause. So let me take a sip.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is sometimes you have to really dive deep into self-reflection and be intentional about your leadership style. Again, there's 1,000 books out there that's talking about leadership styles. And here's where mine is different. So you take all of these assessments, you take all of these self-assessments, DISC, Myers-Briggs, and all these things. And they say, well, you're an authoritative, you're transformative, you're transitional, you're coaching. So you know that you are those types of leadership. But my book indicates the why, right? Just like Albert Bandura. Well, why are you like that? Because I'm observing you and I'm taking those habits and I'm taking it along with me. That's what we need to address. And that's what we need to recognize within ourselves. So don't just tell me, oh yeah, great. I'm a cheerleader kind of leader. Great. But why? Why are you that way? So once you figure out why, then you can start changing the behaviors or adjusting the behavior so you can be well kept. That's my motto. Stay well kept.
Yeah.
Pause. What you got for me?
No, they already seen the title by this point when they get into the pie. Press, not stress, ironing out leadership wrinkles is the name of this episode. And,
they are pressed to be that title, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Everybody's not built to climb the ladder. There are some people that are just fine where they are. They're great at what they do, right? If I'm going to sharpen pencils, I'm going to sharpen the best damn pencil I can. I'm going to be the best pencil sharpener. Does that mean I want to now, she's a good pencil sharpener, she should be a manager, right? No, and it's like, no, I know how to sharpen pencils, but that doesn't mean I feel like teaching somebody else how to do it because I'm doing it. I'm in my zone. I'm in my lane. I sharpen it. I go home. I get up. I come back, and I'm proud of those pencils. But I think what has happened is in society, and as we read and as we keep looking at all these leadership books, the goal is to be a CEO. The goal is to be a vice president. The goal is to be a director. I had one of my toxic leaders once ask me, why do you always try not to go for the VP and higher? And I said, well, I've done that, did that, number one, because she didn't know who I was. Again, another trait of an unkept leader. They just think you are in the moment who you are. They have nothing to do, don't know anything about your background, right? And she says, why do you at the time I was a manager, why do you just want to be a manager? And I said, just a manager?
Oh man,
I can't stand that. She's just a secretary. She's just an admin. She's just a no. Everybody's a leader in their own right. So the titles that we are conditioned to want, you have to really wonder: is that for your applause, or is it to be really a vessel that God can use to pour into other people? And so I'm sorry I cut you off, but I jump in. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about the titles.
No, you right there. I'm feeling
Let me
that.
get close to the camera so people can see my face. No.
How have your experiences in workforce management? I was going to say just workforce management.
No,
social services shape your approach to leadership training then?
Well,
because you're saying someone don't know about background. Well, let's get into that background.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like everything that we have done to a specific age, we've got that background to help us to push into the next position or the next thing that we're doing. If we're strategic in what we want to do, and sometimes we're not strategic, we're all over the place, but we still take that experience and we bring it. My background is I'm from Miami. And so and I live in Maryland now, but most of my career has been in South Florida. Now South Florida is a melting pot of culture.
305.
Come on, 305 and 786. They got some other ones too, but so my experiences in social services is with helping people, right? Helping people that are intellectual disabilities or Medicaid or, financially stressed, people that need help in their homes, foster children that I've worked with. And working with all of these different positions, you have to have what they're calling now emotional intelligence, which is a new word, right? We've been talking about this as just a new word. It is being aware of your situation and being sensitive to who's in the room, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you treat someone, like Maya Angelou said, people aren't going to remember what you said, is how you made them feel at the end of the day, right? So you have to take special care, patience. I know part of my bio is even some of my, I got into this from personal experience and biblical just meditation, where we have to say there's a time and a season for everything, right? And so when you look at the verse that says there's a time for everything, that's what leadership is all about. It's a time to cry. It's a time to laugh. It's a time to hug. It's a time not to hug. It's a time to build. It's a time to tear down. So you have all of these different characteristics that should be in a leadership that also aided when I was doing social services. And so I took that, and now I'm starting to deal with children. Okay, now I'm going into adults. Now I'm going into young adults, middle adults. I don't care how old you are. Starting out, you can be 18, you can be 78. The foundation is still the same. You have to treat others the way that they're going to remember and feel like they're respected, right? Just courtesy.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a Dairy Queen story that I always tell people. This was one of my personal experiences. Yeah, this is funny.
Okay.
So in my transitions from social services and all of my things, this is in South Florida. So my mom, who was at the time, I consider my mom an elderly person, right? She's young and spunky, but I still consider her, I got to take care of her. Again, my social services kicking in. She's in social services. That's how I got into it, because of her work. And so we just want a simple ice cream. Go up to Dairy Queen. And the lady says, my mom is ordering her order. We get back to the car, and my mom sits down and says, this is not what I ordered. I don't want this. And I was like, oh, well, let me go back up here, fix it. It shouldn't be any problem. We get into customer service now, Donato. And I go up to the counter, get up to the counter. And the lady says, and I said, hey, you gave my mom the wrong order. She says to me, well, that's what she ordered. If she wants another one, she could pay for another one. The record scratched. Do you know what the record is, Donato? I think you do, right? You know what the record is, bro.
Oh, yeah, I do know.
For those listeners that don't know, it's a record that's scratched.
Yeah.
And so I say, excuse me. So this was in my not so calm days. And I say, excuse me. There was some words exchanged. I was like, is this not good customer service where I'm telling you that it wasn't made correctly? I'm advocating for someone else. And she goes, that's too bad. So I said, well, where's the manager? Where's the manager experience? And this is where she said to me, I am the manager. So I acted a whole fool and was all telling people in the line, oh, they know that. I was acting a fool in those days. I don't do that anymore as much. And that's when I said, okay, customers, again, it was just one of the many times of customer service where, again, like you said, where does my past from social services fit into my present and things that I've done? It is because it's just those simple things that you go, is it really just a big deal for you to say, I'm sorry, ma'am, let me change this? You're like, oh, that's but for her to even say that's your problem, you didn't say anything when I first handed it to you. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Pause. What we got here? What we talking about? I know I got so much.
When
I have
you
so much.
have the manager and the manager don't get it.
That's where the problem is. And that's
they
why
all
I said,
lost.
Exactly.
All lost.
Again, and that's what I call an unkept enabler, right? In the book. So it's an unkept enabler. So you see all these things going on, and they're going to do one of two things, the enabler. They're going to say, well, you know what? That's out of my realm of my busyness. That's why I hired you to handle these things. Yeah. And so they're coming back with one side. Oh, such and such is a problem. And I, as the enabler, I'm like, well, just take care of it. I'm not listening to what happened. I'm not sitting down to hear what's been going on. I'm not seeing what kind of worker this was. I'm not asking the relevant questions that my manager should say, hey, did you see if something was wrong? Are they having a hard time at home? It's these things that we need to do as leaders to make sure that these employees are heard and understood, right? With the utmost respect. And so I'm enabling now another person in power that's on the floor. And I say, well, I want to talk to your manager. And he's like, oh, no, you can't talk to them. They're blocking it, right? They're blocking the entrance to the open door policy that they probably swore that they had when you were hired in onboarding. Oh, we have an open door policy. Come to talk to us anytime. But that doesn't happen. So the person that's on the floor is like Tasmanian devil. They're just like running through back and forth, tearing up shit. And you're like, well, what's going on? Yeah. So I'm enabling now someone else to behave inappropriately, and it's not stopping. So now we have all these employee engagement surveys. Hey, take this employee engagement. Tell us how we're doing as a company. And now everybody is like, well, why even do it? Number one, because you're not going to do anything about it, because we already know what the problem is. It's Sam over there, right? And Sam's being unable to do what he does. Or retaliation, right? They're afraid of retaliation. Well, I'm going to get fired if I speak up, or they're going to treat me differently. And these are the issues that are in the workplace, which makes it toxic. And so again, it starts with unkept leadership. So we don't want to be pressed. So to be not stressed, we need to just do some self-reflection. Leaders need to be trained better. They need to actually go through a training and not just put into a position without the appropriate guidance and leading up to training to deal with people. Because again, just because you're good at your job doesn't mean that you should be leading anybody. Maybe you need to be in a room somewhere by yourself doing things behind the scenes and not interacting with people.
When I think of the person that feels comfortable in their little toxic way,
yes,
I always think that, because they're good at this, we'll let a couple other things slide. I feel like that's the one, but I'm curious to you. I think that's the easiest one. What are some common signs of toxic work culture that leaders often overlook?
I think it's that undertone bullying, right? I think it is where the person that they put on the floor, in a cubicle, this person you put this supervisor in charge, right? Let's say I'm the manager. I have a supervisor on the floor and I have a staff of, and this is real life experience. So I'm really going to say this is a real story. So you have these people on the floor, but you trust your supervisor so much because you have this really good relationship. So you think, right? So on this side of the door, everything's fine. And yeah, I'll handle what's going on. If I get a complaint, I'll say, hey, what about this? I think you need to take care of it. I got it together. And then suddenly the issue goes away, but I don't know that it's gone away in a certain way. Yeah. But as the word says, everything in darkness comes to light. So eventually something's going to happen where I get the word back and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they're like, yeah, she's over here, making demands, telling us she's in charge. It's the bullying. I'm in charge. You do what I say. Don't go to Freadda. She's busy right now. She actually told me to tell you that she can't be bothered. And you don't know anything about this. And so, unfortunately, you do have to have something that I like to call skip level, where you skip the supervisor and go straight to their employee and talk to them one-on-one. Hey, how's it going? Hey, this is anonymous, but you have to make them know. I promise you, whatever you tell me is, we're going to handle it, because they're scared. They're still scared to talk, but you have to build that relationship. So I think bullying is probably one of the most toxic risk indicators towards a toxic work environment. Is just like kids get bullied in school, adults get bullied at work, and it's just in so many subtle ways that you don't see it until that person is saying, I quit. And it's because of this person. You're like, whoa, what happened? I know it alls and blowing them off. It's so anyway, I would say that's probably the top one in my list is bullying. Mm-hmm.
In your view, I'm going to go back to emotional intelligence. What role does emotional intelligence play in effective leadership today?
I think it's effective today, yesterday, and even before yesterday, honestly. I don't think it's changed. I think that emotional intelligence, or what I just like to say, awareness to being sensitive to people with problems or issues, is basically what that is, right? Being aware. So here's a real life, another example. I had an employee whose best friend died, right? She just found out that day. She's at work. She comes to work. Oh my God, my best friend died. I don't know what to do. I wasn't in that day. So my supervisor, who was a toxic supervisor, was made aware of it. And her response to the employee, who's a good employee, she, works her ass off. She's a really good employee.
Yeah.
So another employee goes to my supervisor and says, hey, XYZ's best friend just died. She's really having a hard time. And she says to them, oh, well, make sure her work gets done. And when her work gets done, she can have the rest of the day off and we'll see her tomorrow. But it was through a third party. It wasn't her going to the individual saying, oh my God, I just heard what happened. Yeah. Take as much time as you need, not the rest of the day. Take as much time as you need. I understand that losing someone can be hard. You have to be empathetic. The empathy is not there. And I don't think that this is something that's just today, Donato. I think this is something that's been happening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have years and years of research and all these psychologists out here trying to determine what's happening. And so it is just being aware of people's needs. And even if you have never experienced that, you would at least say, oh my goodness, I'm sorry to hear something because people just really like to feel like they're heard and that they could be related to. And so there was another time where, and I'm just going to give you another example of this, in terms of being emotional. Your emotional intelligence is, again, just being aware of situations that could potentially cause grief and strife to someone else, right? It's being sensitive to those things. And so there was another guy, he was having seizures. One of my staff members was having seizures. He had gotten them under control. He was on medication, but then he had another one after it was a whole year had passed and he'd had another one. So he goes to the doctor and the doctor says, well, I think you need to stay home for a couple of weeks just so you can take your medicine so that you're getting used to it. So if something happens, you're at least at home. You're not at the workplace. So he comes to me and says, I think I need a couple of weeks off because I want to take my medication, but he had plenty of work to work remote. There was a policy in place where you could, under circumstances. And I'm like, no problem. So I talked to human resources. They said, no problem. So then we're coming back to my toxic leader who says, well, how long does it take for him to take a pill to figure out if something's going on with it? And I was frozen. I was shooketh, as they say. And I said, is she serious right now? How long does it take him to keep an eye on the medication that he's taking? And it was only 2 weeks, right? And I said, and she was like, yeah, because people try to get over and just want to work from home. I'm like, this man has never asked that. You have to look at the history of people. Again, remember we were saying people just look at the here and now. They don't look at the patterns. They don't look at what people have done. And again, you're trying in your mind to really stretch and figure out what is it that's making them feel like they have to micromanage everything, and for things to be effective, which is that's another talk. That's another topic too, Donato, on unkept leadership, with people feeling like they have to come back to the office. Woo, that's a topic right there for these leaders that really think I got to see what you're doing in order for you to be productive. And when you're at the office, you're not half as, well, I know I'm not half as productive because people coming to my office all day.
Always, I call them time stealers. Time stealers.
Yes,
Let me tell you about my weekend.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my God. Right.
Tell you about little Johnny.
I don't care. I don't want to know. Tell me on the way to the car or something. I don't want to know. I'm in the middle of something. You're giving them all the cues. Put my hand on my laptop. They act like I got a call. They sitting there with their legs crossed. And you actually work a little bit more at home. I mean, it just depends on your integrity, right? But if you know those people, you know who your reports are, then you build that trust towards being a well-kept leader. And it's just one of those things, again, don't tell me what type of leader I am. Tell me why this person is like this. These are the reasons why you're a micromanager. This is the kind of stain you have. This is the kind of dust you carrying around. So this is what we need to address in order for you to get it right, or let somebody else in to do it. So the dusty leaders, the dirty, okay?
You make it sound like they pigpen from Charlie Brown.
Just pigpen, just everywhere they go, just a trail of dust.
That dust cloud.
Just dust cloud. Like, just put your whole body in the washing machine. Like, what is happening here? Yeah.
So those leaders, how do you help those leaders balance accountability with compassion in the workplace then? How would you help them balance?
I think I would help them balance if they wanted to. I think there's not just one way to do that. It depends on your person, right? You have to know who you're dealing with. You meet people where they are. So if it's passionate and accountability, basically know what this person has done in the past. Now, if this was somebody that I had to handhold and they ain't doing nothing, every time I turn around, I'm always asking them, I'm not going to treat them the same as a person that I know they're going to get their work done. Yeah. They're checking in. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a call that's here, a virtual call. Let me see your face. And I don't really need to see your face. Pick up the phone. How you doing? How's your work getting done? If you need me, call me. And at the end of the week, if I can see, or the end of the day, that you've been productive, I don't have any questions for you. I really don't. Now, that person that you have to micromanage all the time, that's a lot different. So that person, I might put different boundaries into place and say, okay, well, I'm going to check in with you at 8 a.m. when you start. Tell me what your day looks like. I'm going to meet up again with you at 3 o'clock. Tell me if you've been able to get those things done, kind of staying on top of them. But everybody does not fit into a box. This is why I say, to be a leader, you have to be a chameleon, right? You have to blend into each one of your staff or your employees, and you blend with whoever you're working with. And that takes a lot of practice and time and intentionality in order to become that person that you want to be. And it doesn't happen overnight. You're going to fall, you're going to fail, you're going to mess up, you're going to do things. But that's when you go, oops, my bad, but you're very transparent about it.
Yeah.
It was my bad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean, that's when you're transparent and you don't have any mishaps about it, because I'm just like you. I put my pants on the same way.
Yes.
One leg at a time, right?
Hide behind
What's going
a
on
facade, here? Like you up in the ivory tower.
What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Yeah. And again, that's that same thing with, I think, is the insecurity of managers that want that micromanagement and people in the office. I think some of it is that they want to be able to be seen in a big office. Come around here and look at my big office and windows so that you can know my name is on the plate and I am over you.
No, the moment you said that, you say insecurity, the first thing that was in my mind was low self-esteem.
Exactly.
So I think we in the same wheelhouse.
Exactly.
Right there
so
for each other.
If I'm a good leader, my office could be in the broom closet and I will still have as much power and as much impact as the person that's got these 10 windows in their office and don't do beep, 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 beep. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
If I was to flip it though, and again, dive into your background.
Come on now.
Can you share a breakthrough moment when a leader you mentored transformed their style and saw a real impact?
Oh, yes. So when I was over this helpline. It was called the Elder Helpline in South Florida, and it was where it was a center where you call in, and the call specialist would give you referrals to in-home services. And one of the women that I hired, she was very insecure. She had explained that she had come from a toxic environment where she wasn't allowed to share her ideas. She would always get blamed for things that went wrong. It was a bad communication problem. And so she didn't want to take the initiative to do a lot of things. And so I noticed when she was answering the calls, first of all, let me just build up the story. So I would hear her on the phone calls and she was very nervous, and she actually didn't have call center experience, but but because of her background, she had good customer service, but not call center experience, which to me, you can train how to answer a phone, right? And so she was speaking and I kept monitoring her phone calls. And I'm like, I noticed that you don't feel comfortable with giving out your information. And she goes, because every time I did this at my last job, I would get in trouble. And I said, but you have experiences. Bring your real life experiences to the people that you're helping on the phone. You build compassion with them. And then you can find out more of what they need and you can refer to them better things. So she said, okay. So our call center, again, South Florida is very, it's a melting pot of, Haitian, Cuban, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, all of these wonderful cultures. So I did not know that she was Haitian. And I heard this girl start speaking Creole, right? And I said, well, wait a minute, right? So because we had the helpline that was divided out, back in the day it says I think they still have that press 1 for Spanish, press 2 for here. I don't think they have 3 languages. I think here is just Spanish and English. But in South Florida, we had Spanish, English, and Creole. And so she didn't tell me, first of all, I didn't know that she spoke this language. Her English, I just would not have known that she spoke another language. So I said, are you kidding me? She goes, oh, no, I'm definitely not going to do it. I said, these are your people. You need to help your people that are speaking this language to break the barriers. So I said, from now on, you're only going to get these calls. So I helped her, get through there, made her feel more confident. So then after that, do you know this girl could speak Spanish too?
Yeah.
And I heard her in conversation in the lunchroom speaking. I said, wait. I said, are you speaking Spanish? And she said, no. I don't want anybody to know speaking Spanish. I said, no. I am going to make you the best trilingual person that you. So what I did was I kept pumping her up and making her feel more and more confident in her skill set. So she soon left there. And to this day, this is what I say by a good leader if you're still in touch with the people that you've poured into that are successful and they're still calling you years later, you know that you've done a good job with being a mentor to them. So
yes,
her next job, she asked me, she was still asking me, I think I want to be the supervisor of a call center myself in another county. And she was like, but I don't think I can do it. I don't know. So it was one of those things where I said, remember what you did. Remember when you couldn't do X, Y, and Z. Now, if I was a horrible leader, I'd have been like, I don't know. If you're not confident in that, we don't need to lose any more calls. You just stick to English and I don't have time for this. But I feel like when you invest in people that you can really see that they really are trying and they want it, do it. Because it's not about the work. I've learned this a long time ago. It's not about the work. It's about the people that you work with. Yeah, the work is important, but at the end of the day, it's the people that you're building up. You're giving confidence. You're motivating them. And she's gone on now. She reached out to me on LinkedIn. This girl's a whole director. She's a whole director, from a call center agent to a director. And she always says, if it was not for you helping me to build my confidence in what I could do, and not dinging me or making me feel guilty if I got something wrong, we use it as learning experiences, I wouldn't be here today. And for me, that's just one of them. Okay, I have a lot of them, Donato, but that one right there is true to my heart. And that girl she's a beast. Okay, I'm like, you are a beast. And that's what I tell them every single time. Do you know what you're capable of? Oh my gosh, did anybody ever tell you this? And they're like, no. They're still calling me boss. I'm like, girl, I'm not your boss. Now I'm your homegirl.
yeah. You could call me constituent at this point.
Exactly.
What are some challenges you face in advocating for workplace civility, and how have you navigated them?
I think the problem is, and this might not be the answer that you're expecting, but in my personal experience, sometimes when you recognize the incivility and you actually address it, either there's pushback. So I'm going back to one of my toxic leaders that didn't have any emotional intelligence. I would call her on it, right? I would call her on it and say, that's not right. Or how could you think this? Or, she would always tell me, you need to put your leadership hat on and get these people in place, these misfits. And I'm like, no. This is not who I am. Like I'm going against the grain. You want us to be on the same team. I can't be on the same team as somebody like this. Our management styles are totally different. So it is, I confront it. Usually I don't have a problem with confronting just because I'm a very vocal person, but everybody's not like this, Donato. Everybody's not going to be vocal. Everybody's not going to be able to speak up. And so for me to navigate it, my first thing is to confront it at the right time. I'm not just going to go in somebody's office and go off, but I always try to wait for the right moment, or it's a one-on-one conversation. And then if I confront it and things are still the same, or I'm still getting pushback, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you're just a such and such title, right? You don't even belong at the table. They don't know what tables I've been in, number one. And so if I cannot navigate it, the answer that you might not be looking for is I leave. So I look for something else, because if I am going to wake up every morning exhausted in a toxic environment, and people are allowed to be in, that incivility in the workplace, it's going to wear you out. You're going to get sick. You're not going to feel good. And so basically I just start looking for something else. And I say, this is not a good fit for me. And so I leave, and I understand that everybody just can't do that. Right. So, but what I do suggest is, what is another skill set? Learn some more classes. LinkedIn has a whole bunch of free things. YouTube has free things. Get your skill set up and running so that you can try and explore new things. It's never too late to start something different, or in a different industry. Right now, it's a little hard because everybody's kind of, especially in this DC area, everybody's kind of fighting for the same jobs with the layoffs. But there's always something else that you can probably try to do, and then start applying. And that's what I have told some of my colleagues or friends if they're in a toxic environment and they're like, well, I've tried and this is, these things are getting worse and worse, then I say, let's start looking at your resume. Let's start changing the words. Let's start, putting yourself out there and start looking for something else. And even if that something else is not ideal to what you do, just go get you some money so you can pay your bills until you find something else that's really going to complement your skill set. So I would never encourage someone to stay there. If the navigation is just too much for you to navigate by yourself, if you can't get someone to see it and address it.
Yeah. Oh no.
Exit stage left. You got to go. You have to go.
What advice would you give to someone in an entry-level position who wants to be a positive influence in their workplace? Can we do it from the bottom? That's what the people in the cheap seats want to know.
Absolutely. Like I said in the beginning, you're not just a leader because of your title. You're a leader. That pencil sharpener that we talked about.
Yep.
That's starting at the bottom, so to speak. And I'm using that in air quotes because everybody needs something to write with. So is it really the bottom? You know what I'm saying? So it all cross-pollinates with each other. So at the bottom, and again, air quotes bottom, wherever you're starting, wherever you are, you do the best at what the hell you can do. Yes. And every opportunity you get, you take it. Don't ever say that ain't my job, which is what I hate when people say that, because you're missing out on opportunities to expand and grow and stretch. Yes. And I call those stretch positions. So if someone says, hey, I wonder if somebody knows how to do that. I'll do it. That's what I used to do. I'll do it. You can stumble around and do it and figure it out, do some research and start practicing that thing. You might find something that you really love to do. Curriculum design. I had graphic imaging, with my book cover and all that kind of stuff. I raised my hand one time and said, hey, let me try and use this software in my when I was a trainer, and didn't know what I was doing, was bootlegging it up. Like, I'm a bootleg learner 100%. And I started learning that thing. And then all of a sudden they provided me, they was like, well, why don't you take a class for this? Because it's going to be important to the organization. Take a class for it. They paid for the class. And so then I started transitioning my skill set to other things where I could do on the side and make me some side hustle money, right?
Yes.
And so I tell those people, don't let the wherever you work be your end all, be all, end all, end all, be all. It never is. So don't get married or stuck in the place where you're saying, this agency is so good to me, I don't ever want to leave this agency. This agency has so many great benefits. No, you need to be married to the goals, the mission, and the culture, right?
Yeah.
I don't care what agency it is. If they're not doing those things, get out of there.
Yeah.
Sharpen your skill set. Do what you need to do to improve. Starting at the bottom, keep volunteering to do other stuff. Look in other people's departments. What y'all doing over here? You need some help? And do it until you figure out that now that's what I think I want to do. And that's where you start. And a leader in your own right.
Goals, missions, culture. I'm going to remember that.
Yes, because that's what you're married to, not to the name of that organization.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you define true empowerment in a professional setting? So we know what right looks like.
What do we know what right looks like?
Well, so we'll know what right looks like. So when it's there, we know we got it. Because sometimes, we complaining, but we may not realize that we have successfully found true empowerment. So how do you define true empowerment in a professional setting?
I think true empowerment is from within. It is not the room that you walk into. So my true empowerment is when I walk into this meeting, I'm confident. I know what I'm talking about. If I have questions, I'm not ashamed to ask them. I know what I bring to the table. So that's my self-empowerment. It's not empowerment in the workplace. It's the empowerment in the individual, which makes the place great, right? So I am from, let me give a shout out to SG Rose out there.
Divine Nine. You see my brick right there? Where my brick at?
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
You see that brick? You see that brick? I mean, since we was talking about Indiana, I mean, you brought it up. Hey. You brought it up.
Yeah. And so I'm saying, even though I'm a part of a sorority, the people make the sorority, right?
Yeah.
It's not the sorority that makes us. So me being an SG Row doesn't make me oh yeah, now I'm all empowered. No, it's what I bring to that sorority that empowers it, right? That's why we want to be a part of this learning and growing and teaching and, supporting culture. So that's what I think empowerment is. Again, Donato, it's from within. Yeah.
Oh, you nailed that. She said what you walk in with.
It's what I walk in with. When I come in the door, they like this. Damn.
And you almost gave yourself away, because that's a nice mock turtleneck that you have on. But when I saw that color, I was like, wait, what's she doing?
And our names are blue. Look, our names.
I was about to say that, and then the name is right there. So I was like, I can see them too. What's a misconception that people have about leadership that you often work to correct?
We've talked about it. We've already talked about this. The misconception is the higher my title, the better my power.
Yep.
That's the misconception. That's the misconception. It's like, I'm stressed out because I'm not a VP. Why is that a person a VP? I work harder than them. I know. Have you heard this? I know their job better than them. What are they doing? I could do this. And maybe you can, but also maybe you can't. Maybe that person really did work hard. Maybe that person really knows strategy and oversight and those types of things. So sometimes people really do hard work, and so I don't have any shade on people with titles, but I'm saying that's not the end all be all. So you may be really good in something, and it's like, do you want the title? Do you want the pay? Do you want the incentives? Do you want the pouring into people? What is it that you want? So you having this high, again, I'm putting out this book to say, again, with my incentives is, I'm not trying to get to Pepsi Cola. I'm not trying to get to Walmart. I'm not trying to get to the big. I want the mom and pops organizations. I want the smaller people. I want anybody that it can touch on, right? Everybody needs the story. Everybody needs the message, right? Because when we all, work together for the smaller people or people that really can't afford things, then that's when we know that we're pouring into others the way that we should. I done forgot your question. I done start rambling.
No, you actually answered my next question, because I was saying, how do you hope unkept leadership will resonate? But you kind of said it. It sounds like it's going to resonate both with seasoned and emerging leaders.
And emerging leaders. It's new emerging leaders or people that just want to look within themselves. And again, I want to stress that leadership is not just titles. I can't say that enough, right? It's not being the CEO. Yes, it's nice to be, if that's what you're striving for, but you have to ask yourself again, why am I striving for that?
Yeah.
What are you going to get out of that? Do you want to lose your work-life balance? Do you want to be up all night taking phone calls? What do you want to do? And I've been there, done that in terms of positions that been on call and, oh my God, this, and you're making good money, but I'm miserable. I'm not able to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Mm-hmm. And so what is it that you want to do? In consulting, you can get probably as much money as a CEO and have as much flexibility as you want. So it's just those different topics that, we won't rabbit hole into, but that's where I see unkept leadership going, is to those seasoned, unseasoned, new leaders that need to do some self-reflection and really determine, what is it that I need to do? Not just in the workplace, at home. You know what I'm saying? You could be, this can apply across the board, in and out of the workplace.
Yes, it can. Was there a chapter that was particularly challenging for you to write? And if so, why?
Let me see. I think I know every day I keep saying I want to do something more with it. So I know that this is going to not be the first one, because the purpose was to make this a bite-sized pieces and not those long 400-page leadership books. I just wanted to be in bite-sized sections to say, okay, now I can start really researching on this. So I think I'm looking at my, I'm trying to go to my table of contents.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think just trying to articulate why people are neglectful to the characteristics that they see when they see. Once you get, again, we talked about that mirror, right? So I think I have a section on defining neglect, the indicators, and trying to articulate. So now that I'm up close and I see this thing, am I just going to try to rub it off, or am I going to really take the time to figure out what's the right detergent or what's the right actions that I need to do to scrub this out? And so trying to get it from my brain to paper was really, really was difficult for me, because I needed people to understand what I'm thinking. Because I have a million things up here. And I'm like, how do I get people to have that aha moment? When I worked as a trainer in one of my lives, that was my goal, was how do I get people to have that aha moment, right? Where you're breaking things down, a concept, and you go, oh, yeah. So, and I don't know if that was just one chapter, Donato, or if it was pretty much a little bit of all of it, where I'm trying to make sure I'm articulating the right thing where people go, that makes sense. And then connecting it to psychology. I think I did a good job, but we'll see, right? It's still coming, so we'll see.
If there's one lasting takeaway you want readers to have from your book, what would it be?
My takeaway would be, don't chalk this book up as all the others that just talk about leadership types. My takeaway is, understand why you are the type of leader you are. Do some self-reflection and work towards becoming, which is, it's not overnight. It's going to take work every day until you figure out, now I'm cooking with gas.
Yes.
Right? I hope I'm not saying things that people have no idea what I'm talking about. That's an old saying. Now I'm cooking with gas. Right?
Hey, we in the digital age. They can look this stuff up.
That's right. They can look at
listening to
cooking
this
with gas. What does this mean? Yeah. Hey Siri, what does this mean?
We're going to be on all platforms. So you could be on Spotify. It'll keep playing this episode, and they can go right on over to some other AI and be like, hey, what is this? That's right. Okay.
So don't chalk this up as your other ordinary. Again, there's nothing new under the heaven. There's nothing new under the sun. Yeah. So what I'm talking about is not new. I'm just putting it in a different perspective to figure out what audience can I get to really understand how I'm connecting it to your dirty laundry.
Dr. Freadda Matthews, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, passion, powerful insights on leadership and workplace well-being. Mm-hmm. Your commitment to building environments rooted in respect, emotional intelligence. Yeah. That's inspiring and essential.
Yeah.
Wishing you continued success with Unkept Leadership.
Thank you.
Hoping that it's going to spark reflection and growth and transformation that so many leaders truly need. And more importantly, thanks for coming on with us.